As I correct his gear, his voice shook. Do you want marry me, human? I wasn't ready for that. Sarah Chen wiped the sweat from her forehead as she worked on the damage control panel. The lights in the maintenance bay flickered, casting strange shadows on the metal walls. She had been working for 6 hours straight, but the job was almost done. Hand me the plasma cutter, she called to her assistant. Kefir moved slowly across the room. His tall, thin body was covered in a special suit that helped him breathe. His home planet had different air than Earth, so he needed this suit to stay alive on the ship. Sarah looked at him and frowned. Something was wrong. The lights on his suit were blinking red instead of green. The air mixer was making strange noises. Kef, stop moving, she said quickly. Your suit is having problems. Kefir froze. His large, silver eyes looked worried through the clear part of his helmet. Is it serious? He asked. His voice sounded different through the translator device. Sarah ran to him and checked the readings on his suit. Her heart started beating fast. The numbers were very bad. His suit was failing, and without it, he would die in minutes. Sit down, right now, she ordered. Don't move too much. I need to fix this quickly. Kefir sat on a metal box. His breathing was getting harder. Sarah could see that he was scared, but he trusted her. They had worked together for 3 years, and she had never let him down. Sarah opened her toolkit and pulled out her best equipment. She had fixed Zeltharian suits before, but never one that was failing this badly. The problem was in the air processing unit. It was a very complicated piece of alien technology. Talk to me, Kef, she said as she worked. Keep talking so I know you're okay. What should I talk about? He asked softly. Anything. Tell me about your home planet. Kefir started telling her about Zelthar, his world. He talked about the crystal forests and the singing mountains. His voice was getting weaker. But Sarah listened while she worked. The air processor was more damaged than she thought. Human tools were not made for Zeltharian technology. Everything was the wrong size and shape. Sarah had to be very creative. She took apart her own communication device and used the parts to build a new connector. Then she used wire from the light fixtures to make new connections. Her hands moved quickly and carefully. Sarah, Kefir said quietly, if I don't make it, don't talk like that, she said firmly. You're going to be fine. I've got this. But inside, Sarah was worried. She had never seen a suit fail this badly. The backup systems were also starting to break down. She had maybe 10 minutes before it would be too late. Sarah worked faster. She connected new wires and replaced broken parts. Some of the components were from 3 different species technology. It shouldn't work. But somehow it did. Almost there, she said. Just a few more connections. Kefir was very quiet now. Sarah could hear his breathing through the suit's speakers. It was slow and difficult. Finally, she made the last connection. The suit's lights changed from red to yellow, then slowly to green. The air mixer started working properly again. There, Sarah said, sitting back. Try breathing now. Kefir took a deep breath. His eyes brightened and color returned to his face. It works, he said with relief. Sarah, you saved my life. That's what friends do, she replied. Putting away her tools, they sat in silence for a moment. Sarah checked all the readings twice to make sure everything was working correctly. The suit was running even better than before. You know, Kefir said slowly, in my culture, when someone saves your life, it creates a special bond. Oh, Sarah was only half listening. She was still focused on the technical readings. Sarah, he said, and something in his voice made her look up. Kefir was looking directly at her. Even through the helmet, she could see that he was nervous. His hands were shaking slightly. What is it, Kef? He was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was shaking. Do you want marry me, human? Sarah dropped her tools. They clattered on the metal floor, making loud noises in the quiet room. She stared at him, completely shocked. What? She said. I know it sounds strange, Kefir said quickly, but in my culture, when someone saves your life with such skill and care, it means they would be a good life partner. You are smart, brave, and kind. You have saved me many times, not just today, Sarah stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the stars moving slowly past the ship. Her mind was racing. This was the last thing she had expected to happen today. Keth, She started, then stopped. I don't know what to say. You don't have to answer now. He said gently, I just wanted you to know how I feel. Sarah turned back to look at him. Kefir was still sitting on the metal box, looking hopeful and scared at the same time. She had never thought about him in that way before. He was her friend and work partner. But now, this is very complicated, she said. Finally, humans and Zeltharians have never. Is this even possible? I don't know, Kefir admitted. But I would like to find out, if you want to. Sarah felt her heart beating fast again. But this time it wasn't from worry about the suit. It was from something else entirely. She looked at this alien being who had just asked her to marry him, and she realized that she cared about him much more than she had understood. I need time to think, she said. Of course, Kefir replied. Take all the time you need. Sarah picked up her tools and put them back in the kit. Her hands were shaking now too. As she worked, she could feel Kefir watching her. When she looked up, he was smiling, or at least, doing what passed for smiling in his species. We should probably get back to work, she said. Yes, he agreed. But Sarah, yes, thank you for saving my life and for not saying no right away. Sarah smiled despite herself. You're welcome, Keth, for both things. As they walked back to the main engineering deck, Sarah's mind was full of questions. What would happen if she said yes? What would happen if she said no? And most importantly, what did she really want? The stars outside seemed to shine a little brighter as they left the maintenance bay behind. Sarah couldn't sleep that night. She lay in her small cabin, staring at the ceiling. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Kefir's voice asking that question. Do you want to marry me, human? She had never thought about marriage with anyone on the ship, let alone someone from another planet. But the more she thought about it, the more confused she became. The next morning, Sarah went to the cafeteria for breakfast. She hoped to eat quietly and think, but that plan didn't work. Sarah called Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist. I heard something interesting happen yesterday. Sarah nearly choked on her coffee. What do you mean? Elena sat down across from her. Word travels fast on a ship. People are saying Kefir asked you something important. People need to mind their own business. Sarah said quietly. Hey, I'm not judging, Elena said with a smile. I'm actually excited. Do you know how rare this is? I've been studying interspecies relationships for years, and this could be groundbreaking. Sarah looked around the cafeteria. Several crew members were looking at their table and whispering. She felt her face getting hot. Elena, can we talk about this somewhere private? They went to Elena's lab. It was full of computers and strange equipment used to study alien life forms. Elena closed the door and turned to Sarah. Okay, tell me everything, Elena said. Sarah explained what had happened in the maintenance bay. Elena listened carefully, taking notes on her tablet. This is fascinating, Elena said when Sarah finished. Do you know anything about Zeltharian bonding customs? Not really, Sarah admitted. Elena pulled up files on her computer. I've been studying this for months. Zeltharians don't form relationships the way humans do. They don't date or have romantic feelings like we understand them. Then what was Kefir talking about? For Zeltharians, partnerships are based on practical compatibility and life debt, Elena explained. When someone saves a Zeltharian's life, especially through skill and intelligence, it creates a bond. They see it as proof that the person would be a good life partner. Sarah felt more confused. So he doesn't actually care about me. It's just biological. That's not right either, Elena said. Quickly, Zeltharians do form deep emotional connections, but they express them differently. The fact that he asks you means he trusts you completely and wants to share his life with you. It's actually very romantic in their culture. Sarah rubbed her temples. This is so complicated. There's more, Elena said carefully. If you say yes, it wouldn't just be marriage. Zeltharian bonding involves sharing memories and experiences. You would be connected in ways that humans have never experienced before. Before Sarah could respond, there was a knock on the door. Elena opened it to find Commander Torres, the ship's second-in-command, Miss Chen, Dr. Vasquez. He said formally, "Captain wants to see you both immediately." They followed Commander Torres to the bridge. Captain Rodriguez was waiting, looking serious. Several other senior officers were there too. "Sarah, sit down," the captain said. "We need to talk about your situation with Kethfer, sir." "It's a private matter," Sarah said. "Not anymore." The captain replied, "I've been receiving communications from Earth Command all morning. They're very interested in this development." Sarah felt her stomach drop. "What kind of interest?" "The political kind," Commander Torres said. "Earth is trying to form stronger alliances with the Zeltharian government. Your relationship could be seen as a symbol of cooperation between our species. Or it could be seen as contamination," added Dr. Kim, the ship's psychologist. "There are groups on both Earth and Zelthar that oppose interspecies relationships." Captain Rodriguez nodded. "I've also received angry messages from the Zeltharian High Council. Some of them think Kethfer is making a mistake." Sarah stood up. "With respect, Captain, this is my decision to make." "I agree," the captain said. "But you need to understand the consequences. Whatever you decide will affect more than just you and Kethfer." After the meeting, Sarah walked through the ship's corridors feeling overwhelmed. Everywhere she went, people stared at her. Some looked curious, others looked disapproving. She found Kethfer in the engineering section, working on a power coupling. He looked up when she approached. "Sarah," he said softly, "I heard about the meeting." "Everyone's heard about everything," Sarah said with frustration. "I can't even think clearly with all this pressure." Kethfer put down his tools. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause problems for you." "It's not your fault," Sarah said. "I just wish people would leave us alone. Maybe I should withdraw my proposal," Kethfer said sadly, "if it's causing you trouble." "No," Sarah said quickly. "Don't do that. I'm still thinking about it." They worked together in silence for a while. Sarah noticed that Kethfer seemed different today. He was more careful around her, more formal. "Keth, are you okay?" she asked. "I received a communication from my family today," he said. "They are not happy about my proposal." "Why not?" "They think humans are too emotional and unpredictable. They worry that bonding with you would be dangerous for me." Sarah felt hurt. "Dangerous how?" "They think human emotions might overwhelm my mind during the bonding process. They want me to choose a Zeltharian partner instead." Sarah put down her tools. "So everyone thinks this is a bad idea." "Not everyone," Kethfer said. "Some of the younger crew members think it's wonderful. They say it proves that different species can work together." That afternoon, Sarah went to the observation deck. She needed to think without people staring at her. She found a quiet corner and looked out at the stars. "Mind if I join you?" a voice asked. Sarah turned to see Lieutenant Brooks, a human pilot who had been on the ship for 5 years. "Sure," Sarah said. Brooks sat down beside her. "I heard what happened. People are talking about it like it's the most important thing that's ever happened. On this ship, I just want to make the right decision," Sarah said. "But I don't even know what that is anymore. Can I give you some advice?" Brooks asked. "I've been out here longer than most humans. I've seen how we adapt to things that seemed impossible at first." Sarah nodded. "The thing about humans is that we're good at breaking barriers," Brooks continued. "We've always been explorers, always willing to try new things. Maybe that's what makes us special. But what if it doesn't work?" Sarah asked. "What if we're too different?" "Then you'll figure it out," Brooks said with a smile. "That's what humans do. We solve problems that other species think are impossible." As Sarah sat there watching the stars, she realized that everyone was trying to tell her what to do. But the only opinions that really mattered were hers and Kethfer's. She stood up and walked back to the engineering section. She had some serious thinking to do. Sarah was still thinking about her decision when the alarms started screaming throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and everyone ran to their emergency stations. "All hands to emergency positions," Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the speakers. "We have a critical system failure in the life support section." Sarah grabbed her tools and ran toward the main engineering deck. Kethver was already there, checking the computer screens. His face looked worried. "What's happening?" Sarah asked. "The atmospheric processors are failing," Kethver said. "All of them at the same time. This shouldn't be possible." Sarah looked at the readings. The systems that created breathable air for different species were shutting down one by one. First, the Zeltharian section, then the vegan zones, then the mixed atmosphere areas where different species work together. "This isn't a random failure," Sarah said. "Someone did this on purpose. Commander Tor has arrived with a security team. We think it's sabotage," he said grimly. "Someone wants to force all the species to separate into their own sections." "How much time do we have?" Sarah asked. 6 hours before the backup systems failed completely," Commander Torres replied. "After that, anyone not in their species-specific zones will suffocate." Sarah felt a chill. The mixed atmosphere zones were where she and Kethver worked together. If those failed, they would have to stay in separate parts of the ship. "I need to see the damage," Sarah said. She and Kethver went to the life support center. The room was filled with smoke and the smell of burned electronics. Sarah saw immediately that this wasn't ordinary sabotage. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a damaged control panel. "They used acid to destroy the human-made components, but they left the Zeltharian parts alone." Kethver examined another section over here. "They damaged the Zeltharian bioprocessors but didn't touch the human equipment." Sarah realized what was happening. They want us to work separately. They made it so human tools can't fix the Zeltharian systems, and Zeltharian methods can't repair the human equipment. "That's impossible," Kethver said. "We need both systems working together to maintain the mixed atmosphere." "Exactly," Sarah said grimly. "Someone wants to prove that different species can't work together." They spent the next hour trying to repair the systems separately. Sarah worked on the human components, while Kethver focused on the Zeltharian bioprocessors. But every time one of them made progress, the other system would fail. "This is hopeless," Kethver said, sitting down heavily. "We're fighting against each other instead of working together." Sarah wiped sweat from her forehead. They had already lost 2 hours, and the situation was getting worse round the ship. Crew members were being moved to their species-specific sections as the mixed zones became unsafe. "Wait," Sarah said suddenly. "What if that's the point?" "What do you mean?" "The sabotage was designed to fail when we worked separately," Sarah explained. "But what if we work together? What if we combine our methods?" Kethver stood up. "That's never been done before. Human and Zeltharian engineering are completely different. So were human and Zeltharian life support systems before we built this ship," Sarah said. "We've been solving impossible problems for 3 years. This is just another puzzle." They started working together in a way they never had before. Sarah would identify the human components that needed repair, and Kethver would use his bioengineering knowledge to create living connections between the damaged parts. "Try routing the power through the bioconduits," Sarah suggested as she worked on a control circuit. Kethver grew thin, root-like structures from his suit's bioprocessors. The roots connected to Sarah's repaired circuits, creating a bridge between human technology and Zeltharian biology. "It's working," Kethver said with excitement. "The systems are starting to synchronize." But their success was short-lived. As soon as one section came online, another would fail. The sabotage was more complex than they had thought. "There's a pattern here," Sarah said. "Studying the failures, every time we fix something, the saboteur triggers another failure. That means they're still active," Kethver realized. "They're watching us and interfering in real time." Sarah looked around the engineering bay. "They have to be someone with access to the main systems. Someone who knows both human and Zeltharian technology," as if summoned by her words. Dr. Marcus Webb, the ship's chief technology officer, entered the room. He was a thin, nervous man who had always seemed uncomfortable around alien crew members. "How are the repairs going?" he asked, but his voice sounded strange. Sarah watched him carefully. "We're making progress. We should have the mixed atmosphere zones working soon." "That's good," Dr. Webb said, but he didn't sound happy about it. Keffer was still working on the bioprocessors when he noticed something. Sarah, look at this. The sabotage virus is still active in the system. It's coming from a terminal in this room. Sarah looked at the readout, then at Dr. Webb. His face had gone pale. Dr. Webb, Sarah said quietly, step away from that terminal. I can't let you do this, Dr. Webb said, his voice shaking, mixing. Species is wrong. It's dangerous. Look what happened to you and Keffer. You're causing chaos throughout the ship. You did this because of us? Sarah asked in shock. I did this to protect everyone, Dr. Webb said. Humans and aliens shouldn't mix. We should stay in our own sections, with our own people. Security officers arrived just as Dr. Webb tried to activate another virus. Commander Torres stunned him with the energy weapon, and he collapsed. Is he the only one? Commander Torres asked. Sarah checked the computer systems. I think so, but the damage is already done. We still have less than 3 hours to fix everything. With Dr. Webb stopped, Sarah and Keffer could work without interference. But the repairs were incredibly complex. They had to rebuild connections between dozens of different systems, each one requiring both human and Zeltharian expertise. I need you to interface directly with the bioprocessors, Sarah said. I can't read the biological data fast enough. Keffer connected his suit's neural interface to the ship's systems. I can see the data flow, but I can't understand the human control systems. Then we do this together, Sarah said. I'll handle the human systems, you handle the Zeltharian ones, and we'll coordinate everything. They worked as a perfect team. Sarah's fingers flew over the human control panels while Keffer's bioprocessors created living connections throughout the ship. When Sarah needed to understand a biological system, Keffer would explain it. When Keffer couldn't grasp a human concept, Sarah would translate it. The primary atmospheric processor is online, Keffer reported. Good. Now I'm connecting it to the backup systems, Sarah said. They worked for 2 more hours, fixing system after system. Other crew members gathered to watch, amazed by how smoothly the 2 different species worked together. Final connection, Sarah announced, bringing the mixed atmosphere zones online in 3, 2, 1. The lights changed from red to green throughout the ship. The air circulation systems hummed back to life. They had done it. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the speakers. All systems are operational. Mixed atmosphere zones are safe. Excellent work, team. Sarah and Keffer looked at each other, exhausted but triumphant. They had saved the ship by working together in ways that neither species could have managed alone. You know, Sarah said, with a smile, maybe we make a pretty good team. Keffer's eyes sparkled. I was thinking the same thing. As they cleaned up their tools, Sarah realized something important. Working with Keffer felt natural, like they were meant to be partners. Maybe the answer to his proposal wasn't as complicated as she had thought. The next morning, Sarah woke up to find a message waiting on her personal computer. It was from Earth Command, marked as urgent and confidential. Engineer Chen, the message read. Your recent actions have drawn significant attention from the highest levels of Earth government. While your technical skills are commendable, your personal relationship with the Zeltharian crew member creates serious diplomatic complications. You are hereby ordered to cease all non-professional contact with Keffer immediately. Failure to comply will result in court-martial and immediate return to Earth. This is not a request. Sarah stared at the screen in disbelief. After everything they had accomplished together, Earth Command was trying to force them apart. She got dressed and went to find Keffer. She found him in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. He seemed sad and distant. Kef, we need to talk, Sarah said, sitting beside him. I know, he said quietly. I received a similar message from the Zeltharian High Council. They have forbidden me from pursuing this relationship. Sarah felt her heart sink. What did they say? They said that bonding with a human would contaminate my genetic line. They want me to return to Zelthar for proper bonding with someone of my own species. And if you don't, Sarah asked, I will be declared dead to my family. I will never be allowed to return home. They sat in silence for a long time. Sarah felt angry and sad at the same time. Both of their governments were trying to control their lives. Maybe we should listen to them, Sarah said finally. Maybe this is too complicated. Kef returned to look at her. Is that what you want? Sarah thought about the question. Was it what she wanted? Or was she just scared of fighting the whole universe for their relationship? I don't know, she admitted. I care about you, Kef, but I don't want to ruin both our lives. What if we could prove that our bonding would help both our species? Kefir asked. What if we could show them that working together makes us stronger? Sarah looked at him with surprise. What are you thinking? Yesterday, when we saved the ship, we worked together in ways that neither humans nor Zeltharians have ever managed alone. What if we could do that officially? You mean like a demonstration? More than that, Kefir said, his eyes brightening. What if we had a formal bonding ceremony? We could broadcast it to both our worlds and show them exactly what interspecies cooperation looks like. Sarah felt scared and excited at the same time. That's incredibly risky. If it goes wrong, we'll both be in serious trouble. But if it goes right, Kefir said, we could change everything. We could show both our species that cooperation is possible. Sarah stood up and walked to the window. The stars looked different. Today, like they were waiting for something important to happen. How would it work? She asked. Zeltharian bonding involves sharing memories and consciousness, Kefir explained. We would connect our minds temporarily, allowing each other to experience what it's like to be the other species. But we would also include human marriage customs to honor your culture. And you think this would convince our governments? I think it would show them something they've never seen before. Kefir said, two species becoming stronger together, instead of weaker apart. Sarah thought about it for hours. She talked to Dr. Elena, who was excited about the scientific possibilities. She talked to Captain Rodriguez, who was worried about the political consequences. She even talked to Lieutenant Brooks, who reminded her that humans were good at doing impossible things. Finally, Sarah made her decision. She found Kefir in the engineering section that evening. He was working on a routine maintenance job, but she could tell he was nervous. Kef, she said, I have an answer to your proposal. He stopped working and turned to face her. And, yes, Sarah said simply, I want to marry you. I want to bond with you. And I want to show both our species that love is stronger than fear. Kefir's eyes lit up with joy. Are you sure? You understand what this means? I understand that I care about you more than I care about what other people think, Sarah said. I understand that we work better together than apart, and I understand that sometimes you have to fight for what's right. They spent the next week planning the ceremony. Captain Rodriguez agreed to perform the human marriage portion, despite his concerns. Dr. Elena helped them understand the Zeltharian bonding process. Even some of the crew members who had been skeptical began to support them. The ceremony was scheduled for the following Sunday. Both Earth Command and the Zeltharian High Council would receive live broadcasts of the event. Are you nervous? Elena asked Sarah on the morning of the ceremony. Terrified, Sarah admitted, but also excited. This feels right, Elena. For the first time in weeks, I feel like I'm making the right choice. The ceremony took place in the ship's main hall. The entire crew was there. Along with video connections to both Earth and Zelthar, Sarah wore a simple white dress. While Kefir wore traditional Zeltharian bonding robes, Captain Rodriguez began. With human marriage vows, Sarah and Kefir promised to love and support each other, to work together through good times and bad, and to honor each other's cultures and beliefs. Then came the Zeltharian bonding ritual. Kefir placed his hands on Sarah's temples, and she felt a strange tingling sensation. Slowly, she began to sense his thoughts and memories. Sarah experienced what it was like to see through Zeltharian eyes, to think with a Zeltharian mind. She felt Kefir's deep appreciation for logic and beauty, his love of growing things, his connection to the natural world. At the same time, Kefir experienced human emotions and creativity. He felt Sarah's passion for solving problems, her protective instincts toward people she cared about, her endless curiosity about how things worked. But something unexpected happened during the bonding. Instead of losing their individual identities, Sarah and Kethfer found that their minds complemented each other perfectly. Sarah's creativity sparked new ideas in Kethfer's logical mind. Kethfer's calm reasoning helped focus Sarah's energetic thinking. They were still themselves, but they were also something new, something that neither species had ever been before. I can feel your thoughts, Sarah whispered in amazement. And I can feel your emotions, Kethfer replied. It's beautiful. The audience watched in fascination as the two different species became bonded. Even the skeptics could see that something special was happening. When the ceremony ended, Sarah and Kethfer looked at each other with new understanding. They were no longer just two individuals from different worlds. They were partners in the truest sense, ready to face whatever challenges came next. Captain Rodriguez smiled as he made the official announcement. I now pronounce you bonded partners in the traditions of both Earth and Zelther. The crew erupted in cheers, but Sarah and Kethfer barely heard them. They were too busy exploring their new connection, amazed by what they had become together. Outside the ship, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself was celebrating this new kind of partnership. 6 months after their bonding ceremony, Sarah and Kethfer stood in the newly constructed Interspecies Engineering Center. Aboard the Concordia, the room was unlike anything that had existed before, a perfect blend of human technology and Zeltharian bioengineering. Sarah ran her hand along a console that seemed to be alive. Thin, root-like structures pulsed with soft light, carrying information between human computers and Zeltharian organic processors. Status report on the Galactic Core mission preparations? Sarah asked, all systems running at optimal efficiency. Kethfer replied, his voice carrying both spoken words and a gentle mental touch that Sarah had grown to love. The new hybrid engines are performing better than our best predictions. Their bonding had created something that surprised even Dr. Elena. Instead of just sharing thoughts and emotions, Sarah and Kethfer had developed the ability to interface directly with technology. Sarah's human creativity combined with Kethfer's biological understanding allowed them to design and control systems that neither species could have imagined alone. Incoming transmission from Earth Command announced the ship's computer. Admiral Chen appeared on the main screen. Sarah noticed that the Admiral shared her last name, though they weren't related. Congratulations, Chief Chen, the Admiral said with a smile. The reports from your department continue to amaze us. Sarah had been promoted to Chief of Interspecies Engineering after their hybrid systems helped solve 3 major crises and for months. Thank you, Admiral. The work we're doing here wouldn't be possible without the cooperation between our species. That's exactly why I'm calling, Admiral Chen said. The success of your bonding has inspired changes throughout the galaxy. We've received requests from 12 different species, asking to join the Interspecies Cooperation Program. Kethfer stepped into view of the camera. What kind of requests, Admiral? Everything from scientific exchanges to formal alliance treaties. Your ceremony was broadcast to over 50 worlds, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. You started something much bigger than a marriage. After the transmission ended, Sarah and Kethfer walked to the observation deck. Through the large windows, they could see 3 other ships traveling with them, one from the Vegan Alliance, one from the Crystalline Confederation, and one carrying representatives from 5 smaller species. Do you ever regret it? Sarah asked quietly. Giving up your old life for this? Kethfer took her hand. Through their mental connection, she felt his contentment and love. I didn't give up my old life, he said. I found a new one, a better one. It was true. While both Earth and Zelther had initially been angry about the bonding, the practical results were impossible to ignore. Sarah and Kethfer's hybrid engineering had solved problems that had stumped scientists for decades. Their success had forced both governments to reconsider their positions on interspecies relationships. Sarah, Kethfer, we need you on the bridge. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system. They made their way to the bridge, where they found the captain and his senior staff looking worried. What's the situation? Sarah asked. We've encountered a problem with the Galactic Core mission, Commander Torres explained. Long-range sensors have detected some kind of energy barrier around our destination. It's unlike anything in our databases. Sarah and Kethfer looked at the sensor readings together. Through their shared consciousness, they processed the data faster than any single individual could. It's artificial, Sarah said after a moment, and very old, Kethfer added. Probably built by a civilization that existed millions of years ago. Can we get through it? Captain Rodriguez asked. Sarah and Kethfer exchanged a look. They had learned to have entire conversations through their mental link in just seconds. We'll need to modify our approach, Sarah said. The barrier responds to traditional energy signatures by becoming stronger. But if we can create a hybrid signature that combines multiple species technologies, it might not recognize us as a threat. Kethfer finished. How long will that take? The captain asked. Give us 3 days. Sarah said. We'll need to work with the engineers from all 4 ships. The next 3 days were the most challenging of Sarah's career. She and Kethfer had to coordinate with engineers from 6 different species, each with their own way of thinking about technology and energy. The vegans thought in terms of quantum harmonics. The crystallines understood energy as mathematical equations. The smallest species each had their own unique approaches. But Sarah and Kethfer's bonding had taught them something important. Differences could create strength instead of conflict. Instead of trying to make everyone think the same way, Sarah suggested during a meeting with all the engineers, let's combine all our different approaches. That's impossible, said Engineer Vrex from the vegan ship. Our technologies are completely incompatible. That's what people said about human and Zeltharian technology. Kethfer replied with a smile. Look how that turned out. They spent hours working together, with Sarah and Kethfer serving as translators between the different ways of thinking. Slowly, a new kind of energy signature began to emerge, one that incorporated elements from all 6 species. It's beautiful, whispered Dr. Elena, who was observing the process. You're creating a universal language of technology. On the 4th day, they were ready to test their hybrid approach. The 4 ships moved into formation and activated their modified systems simultaneously. The ancient energy barrier, which had been solid and impenetrable, began to shift and change. It seemed to recognize that the approaching ships represented cooperation rather than conquest. Slowly, an opening appeared in the barrier. Incredible. Captain Rodriguez said, You've opened a door that's been closed for millions of years. As the ships passed through the barrier, they found themselves in a region of space unlike anything they had ever seen. Stars danced in perfect harmony, and ancient structures floated peacefully in the void. Welcome, came a voice that seemed to speak directly to their minds. We have been waiting for species that could work together in harmony. You have passed the test. Sarah and Kethfer looked at each other in amazement. They had not just opened a door to the galactic core. They had made contact with the ancient civilization that had built the barrier. What test? Sarah asked. The test of unity, the voice replied, for millions of years. We have waited for species that could overcome their differences and work together. Your bonding, and the cooperation it inspired, proved that such unity is possible. Over the following weeks, Sarah and Kethfer worked with the ancient beings to learn technologies that would benefit all species in the galaxy. But more importantly, they helped establish the first truly interspecies colony at the galactic core. Standing on the observation deck of their new space station, Sarah watched ships from dozens of different worlds working together to build something amazing. You know, she said to Kethfer, when you asked me to marry you in that maintenance bay, I never imagined it would lead to this. Kethfer's mental touch was warm with amusement and love. I told you that saving my life created a special bond. I just didn't know how special it would become. Sarah smiled as she watched a human engineer work alongside a crystalline mathematician to solve a complex problem. In the distance, vegan botanists were sharing growing techniques with Zeltharian bioengineers. I think we started something good, she said. We started something necessary, Kethfer replied. The universe is big enough for all of us to share. As Sarah looked out at the stars, she realized that their simple love story had become something much larger, proof that the universe's greatest challenges could be solved not through conquest or dominance, but through cooperation, understanding, and the courage to build bridges instead of walls. The galaxy had become a smaller, friendlier place, one relationship at a time.